Welcome to Bullets, Pickler Wealth Advisors monthly market update, where each month we break down the major economic and political activities affecting our markets and our world. No frills, no jargon, just the facts. One of my favorite segments each month is our trivia. This month we're focusing on the Olympic Games. Did you know that the United States has hosted the Summer Olympics 4 times? The Games were held in St. Louis, Missouri in 1904, in Los Angeles, California in both 1932 and 1984, where, by the way, in 1984, President Ronald Reagan became the very first sitting U.S. president to attend the opening ceremonies and actually declare the Games open. And also in Atlanta, Georgia in 1996. LA is once again set to host the Summer Olympic Games in the summer of 2028. All right, let's take a look back at what happened in the month of June. And it was a crazy month. And the first thing we really need to take a look at is we had a lot of market volatility, a lot of movement, but really very little direction. In fact, for the entire month of June, the Dow Jones Industrial Average only ended up moving about 1%, a very small 1% gain. The overall S&P 500 went up by about 3%. But interestingly enough, almost all of the market gains that happened this month were because of one stock, NVIDIA. So again, a lot of activity, kind of a bumpy ride, but really ended up going nowhere. The second thing that happened was, once again, we saw the Federal Reserve. The Federal Reserve met in the month of June, as they do 8 times a year. And once again, for the now 12 months, they chose not to make any change in interest rates. There was some speculation earlier in the year that the Fed might begin cutting rates as early as the June meeting. Now there's some speculation it might happen in July or September, but possibly not until the year-end meeting in December. Now the Fed's in a bit of a quandary because their concern is that if they begin cutting interest rates too soon, they might reignite inflation. But on the other hand, if they wait too long, then they could cause a recession. You see, when the Fed keeps interest rates as high as they are right now, that's what they call a restrictive environment, which makes it more expensive for businesses to borrow money to grow and build their businesses. And the longer that the Fed holds rates at this restrictive level, the more likely that you could eventually see a recession. Thus the quandary. The Fed moves too fast, you restart inflation. The Fed moves too slowly, and they could ignite a recession. So we'll keep a very close watchful eye as we go into future months to see how the Fed deals with this quandary. Our third major issue in the month of June was really the very first lightning bolt in the 2024 presidential election. Yes, we saw former President Trump and current President Joe Biden engage in a historic debate. It was the first time ever that you had 2 men who had served or are currently serving as President of the United States square off in a debate. And an interesting night it was. By almost all measures, Joe Biden delivered a performance that created a lot of worry, a lot of consternation among Democrats, that perhaps his age is catching up to him and he simply may not be up to the job. There also were critics of President Trump's delivery as he continued to attack with sometimes questionable facts. But certainly the game is on, and the volatility that may be assuming the markets very well may be coming along with it. As we move forward to the month of July, once again we'll be paying attention to the Fed. As we spoke about earlier with the Fed quandary about interest rates, the Fed will be meeting again later this month to possibly consider an interest rate cut. Well, we don't know which direction they go, and I would be quite frankly surprised if the Federal Reserve did begin to cut interest rates in the month of July, even though we did see some favorable numbers coming from the personal consumption expenditure number that came out at the end of June. So there certainly is, I think, an opportunity for the Fed to show some leadership and begin the process of cutting rates. The question is, will they? And if they don't, will it send a message to the market that could also create some negative market anxiety? The second item we'll be watching in the month of July will be the quarterly earnings. Every quarter, The 500 corporations in the S&P 500 and so many others report their quarterly earnings, their profits, their losses. And this is widely expected to be another solid quarter of growth. We do anticipate that quarterly earnings will be positive. We will probably see a significant percentage of the companies within the S&P 500 that will exceed expectations. Now, in the past, this has caused the market to continue to go higher. However, even if earnings numbers are good, then we may begin to see some early signs of fatigue, that perhaps the market is no longer as enthusiastic about earnings numbers and may be more concerned about a possibility of a recession or the possibility of market dislocations due to the election. We'll be watching this very, very closely. And of course, our third thing is the gathering storm. The gathering storm of presidential politics, because once again, we're getting closer and closer to that November election date. As we move through the month of July, we will also getting closer and closer to the national nominating conventions of both political parties. Now, there's been some speculation that the Democrats may choose to move to some sort of a nominating process actually earlier in the month of July and not wait to that August convention to try to address some of the uncertainty about whether or not Joe Biden will actually continue as a presidential candidate. We also will be watching to see how much attention that the markets are beginning to pay attention to this election. Normally, the markets don't begin to start paying a lot of attention to presidential politics until around Labor Day. But with the fact that we've already had that very first presidential debate, with the fact that we have such uncertainty about the political future of Joe Biden, and with the ongoing legal drama that tends to swirl around former President Donald Trump, whether it be Supreme Court decisions or whether it be other court battles, then it promises to continue to be an environment that will be uncertain, and there certainly will be a lot of stirring of the pot as we continue to look at the impact of presidential politics on market economics. Again, normally we don't expect to see a significant impact on the market until around Labor Day. But we think this year that could be happening a lot earlier, which is one of the reasons why we're looking at this particular election with a significant amount of concern and certainly an awareness that market volatility could begin to happen at almost any time. This month's quote segment is going to focus on, once again, those Olympic heroes. And our first quote is from the most decorated Olympian of all time, Michael Phelps. Michael Phelps once said, "Is you can't put a limit on anything. The more you dream, the farther you get." Ladies and gentlemen, we wish the best of luck to all the American athletes who are competing at the Paris Olympics. We're all rooting for stars like Simone Biles, Noah Lyles, Katie Ledecky, and so many more as they go for gold. Your dedication and hard work inspires us all. Go Team USA. Thank you once again for joining us for this July edition of Bullets. It certainly is our privilege and honor to bring these little market snippets to you each and every month. We hope that you find the information to be enlightening and hopefully provide some understanding and guidance as we look forward to the uncertainty of each month's activity. Remember, at Pickler Wealth Advisors, it's our family delivering solutions for your family. This is our passion. This is our purpose. Together we plan. Until next time, this is David Pickler, and these are our market bullets.